So in my mind, they can believe in the chamber again. And two, they understand what the chamber is all about and what it could do if it was a strong and vibrant chamber.
Yeah, okay, that's good, that's good. Total budget for 2015, do you happen to have that number?
Yeah, it's about 103, our revenue side is about $103,000.
Okay.
Our expense side is about $98,000.
So you're talking about 5,000 surplus or?
Yeah, I mean, and now that doesn't account for a few one-time expenses. We obviously had to pay, we weren't, at that point, when we set the budget back in January, which was a little late in a normal year for us, we would normally set it in November, December. We weren't accounting for a website rebuild and not knowing exactly what that would cost. We also weren't, there was a couple other things that were one-time, the tax returns. We knew those tax returns were all going to be filed, and at that point, they were all being filed, and we didn't know what the final cost on all that would be. So, and I'll be honest, it was a rather conservative budget on my part. I believe that we still had probably one more year of, I don't know, maybe losing a few more members, that churn or that turnover. And so I think I probably budgeted an 80 or 85% retention rate, which, in a community this size, I would probably normally look at a 90 to 95% retention rate.
Sure. And what's your projected budget for 2016?
We won't do our projected budget until like October when we're doing our strategic planning. So I would imagine it will be, that's a hard one. I would love to guess at what it would be, Steve, but I honestly don't know.
Okay.
Just because knowing where we'll be and that we'll be going out and doing outreach at some point later in the year in a membership campaign of sorts, I would imagine it will probably go up for next year.
Sure.
I certainly don't see it going down.
Sure, and because of the fact that Edgerton's being incorporated within this structure, I'm assuming you're going to be making the same presentation to Edgerton.
I'll be making the same presentation. I don't think Edgerton will be funding at the same level. That's just, being completely honest.
Sure.
But I also, the chamber has historically not served Edgerton, really.
Correct.
I mean, so this is new for them, too, to have a chamber actually servicing and being involved. And we're still, when I go to Edgerton, whether it's a city council or a Frontier Days meeting or whatever it might be, it's still a process to figure out. And the way we service their businesses, obviously, 95% of our businesses are maybe 90%, Gardner, 5% maybe Edgerton and New Century, and then 5% elsewhere. So we're servicing primarily in Gardner and spending most of our time here at this point.
Okay, all right. You're doing a rebranding.
Mm-hmm.
You've done the tax returns. I'm assuming that's you're actually going out and outsourcing a lot of this work with CPAs or with image consultants or anything like that. You're able to manage that through your 2015 budget, even though there's been some financial. Yeah,
and it came about where we thought it would come in. Actually, a couple things. I think some of the tax returns came in a little less, and a couple things came in a little more, so it pretty much evened out in the end for what we thought we would probably end up spending on it.
The last thing I wanted to mention is there's a lot of promises that you've made today, and I totally understand that's you're trying to turn the corner and get to the next level. Where's the metrics that we can expect to kind of see where our benchmark is versus the pledges that are being made this evening, which I think are all noble, and I think we'd be rooting for the chamber if they could deliver on those. But we would like to know how.
Well, see, I feel the opposite. I actually feel like I'm not making any promises, because I feel like the only thing I'm really promising is that how we operate will be different.
Sure.
And that, to me, is more important than saying I'm going to have, standing up here and telling you or telling our businesses that we're going to have 6 lunch and learns from July through December. Because honestly, when I say the chamber has to be fluid, we have to be doing what businesses want us to do. And if businesses don't want lunch and learns, or if only 3 people can come at lunchtime or really care about Facebook marketing, then it's probably not something we need to be doing.
Yeah.
We need to find ways to serve masses of business in a better scale. We need to scale better, and that's something we haven't been able to do. So when I feel like a lot of what I've talked about is things that we're already doing, delivering, being the first point of contact in the community. What we're trying to do now, though, is actually develop some metrics beyond some of that.
Yeah.
And we haven't had that. I've looked back, I know in last year's presentation, I think the number was like 13,900 website visits.
Mhm.
All right, so it hadn't been tracked for a long time. I do now finally have access to our current website numbers, and I haven't had time to dive in and look back for the last year to know if it's any different. I did look at a month, and it was about 2,000. So it's probably up a little bit from last year, but that's just 1 month, and it's just a blip on the screen. So, you know, tracking things in our office, like the new resident bags that actually go out, who they're going out to. Be completely honest, we've been collecting, when we give out the new resident bags, you're allowed to ask for more information. You sign a little sheet there at the utility counter, and for 5 years, we've been collecting information and sticking it in a file folder.
And doing nothing with
And
it.
doing nothing with it. And the first thing you'll hear me talk about is data is huge.
It is.
And it's big for us. You know, even a small chamber, it's a big deal, and we need to utilize it. And so we're finding new ways to do some of that. I do have summer help that's been helping us. That's one thing that's budgeted is we have about $5,000 for the course of the year. And Katie Daniels has been with us for, I don't know, 3-4 years. She's actually finishing at K-State and going off to law school. She'll be with us this summer. And she's been developing, with my direction, some of those things so we can start tracking all of these and to be able to come back and say, hey, you know, we gave out 250 new resident bags. We took 130 phone calls on the garage sale. We did this. Because I feel like that's something you should want.
Sure.
And in lieu of that, I'll just make up some numbers and present you with something. So
Well, they'll make up the.
I'm not going to make them.
But yeah.
But I would like to know, I mean, if there are other things that you feel, you know, and that's the thing, over time too, I want you to come to me and say, hey, Jason, tell me about this, you know, what are they saying here, or what are we hearing?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, thanks for answering those questions.
No problem.
I'll probably be the most difficult person on the day.
I've just got a few here. My question though, regarding staffing.
Yeah.
You know, one of the complaints I've heard over the years is that no one's in the chamber office, to accept phone calls, to greet people. And obviously you can't do that, and you shouldn't do that the whole time, but, so what are your plans, in the future, or do you have plans?
Well, during the summer, obviously, we're golden, and that's a curse and a blessing, because it's great that we have it, but the flip side is, I mean, it ends at the middle of August. I think, in all honesty, I mean, I would love to have somebody there. My hope would be that we would be able to go to a part-time, or maybe even full-time staff person January of 2016, if we have a good enough year. And so it's kind of partly a hustle job to get things in order so we can go out and get some new members at the end of the year. And hopefully that will carry us into 2016 so that we can afford that. In the interim, most of the people who come, and I'm fortunate, I hate to rely on Central Bank of the Midwest staff, but they sit right up front, and I go in and I ask them every once in a while, how many people? And they're like, well, one week it might be 7, another week it might be 2 when you're not here. But 90% of the time they're coming, they want a phone book, they want some community information or a map, something like that. And most of that stuff I have out in front now, and so people can pick it up. And I'm shocked every day I come back, if I'm gone for a meeting on a Friday or a Monday, and I come back, half the stuff out there is gone. And then everybody in town seems to think they can just bring and set their stuff out there, but we work with them on that. And so that's one of the things. I do have a sign on the door that basically says, lights are on, come on in, lights are off, here's my cell phone number, give me a call, I'll make an appointment, I'll come and visit you anytime. I tell anybody who calls, they're like, oh, can I come by this afternoon? Just give me an idea, or call before you come in, I don't want you to waste your time. And that's honestly, right now, that's the best I can do. And then I just have to continue to work towards that. I try to schedule a day or two where I'm majority of the time, like today, I'm in the office most of the time, but even then, you know, I might have to step out to meet with somebody or so forth. So it's not a perfect scenario at this point, but it's the best we can do, and we're going to continue moving in that direction.
Okay, thanks.
How many members are in the chamber right now?
146.
And then percentage of salary versus?
Approximately 50 or 55%, which is, in the chamber world, that's about average.
Small chamber, right?
Yeah, we're a small, and that's exactly it. In the larger chambers, it goes down. The smaller chambers tends to be at the 60 to 65% level is about average. Some are real small or even higher than that. The larger the chamber gets, they tend to, you know, and I'm talking at the $500,000 and $1 million budget, they can sometimes get down into that 40% range. So it's pretty standard at that point.
Also, if anybody's with the IRS in the building, his $1 million comment about my company totally
All right, nothing else?
Is there any other information you'd like me to follow up with them?
Looks like you've answered all the questions. Jason,
Okay.
thank you so much for coming this evening.
Thanks.
Okay, next on the agenda is public comments. Members of the public are welcome to use this time to make comments about city matters or items on the agenda that are not part of a public hearing. If you'd like to make public comments, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, and be heard.
My name's Adam Boydston. I live at 17441 South Agnes Street. Have to pardon me, give me just a minute to I had a good speech and I think I forgot most of it. So give me just a second here. Reason I'm here is for sidewalks. I was here last time and did a little research, not a whole lot, but some. I'm talking about the area from Poplar Street on 175th to Waverly Road. It's a very narrow road. My proposal would be to add a sidewalk and or possibly trail, maybe asphalt. I know this costs money. I know nobody here wants to sit and put money towards something that they're not going to get a whole lot out of. But there's a lot of traffic on this road. When I get off work, drive down at 5 o'clock, oftentimes there's a friendly police officer sitting there in the church running radar because people speed in that area. They also do it in the morning about 7:30 to probably 8:30. Around these times, there are kids that could potentially be walking down the streets. There's about 4 inches worth of pavement that you can walk. Has anybody walked down that street before? Mm-hmm. Okay. Would you like to send your children down that street with a car doing the speed limit at 35 miles an hour? Because that's the legal speed limit. So we can all agree it's not safe. That alone is reason enough for us to at least consider adding a sidewalk. Not to mention there's been some great presentations, Chamber of Commerce. Imagine if you had a festival of trails, sidewalks. Imagine if you had about, 200, 300 homes, and people could actually connect and walk with their families up there and enjoy a concert. Imagine some of those people maybe went to some other businesses, maybe had some adult beverages, and instead of driving home, imagine if they walked home. Okay? Now imagine if this area was near a school, which it is. Some folks don't have opportunities as far as cars. I know, when I was a freshman, I didn't have a car. I was one of those guys that had to hoof it. Sucked. But some people have to walk, especially these kids. So if we could connect, and I looked at it, from Poplar to Waverly, from point A to point B, it's 0.49 miles, that's 2,592 feet. If you were to connect to the next area of sidewalk, which connects to the school, it's 172nd Street to 171st, or 175th, that's 0.26 miles, or 1,383 feet. You add that together, you've got 0.75 miles. Now, when I did my Google search, I know sidewalks are not cheap, okay? You have to deal with curbs, you have to look at zoning and all sorts of things, and I know there's been a sign since I've lived in Gardner of potentially building something in that area, that open field, right? I don't know if it's going to be there when I leave. I don't know what's going on there. Point being, we can't wait because all it takes is one instance of somebody getting hit and injured. I would hate for us to sit down and wait for the next group of people to come in and take on the project. I know it's not a fun, sexy topic, bringing businesses in, but it still needs to be done because there are a lot of people out there that would use it, but they just don't. So for the kids that don't have cars and stuff, walk to schools, for the people that like to jog and exercise, for the families that would maybe come and, spend more time in the downtown area for the Chamber of Commerce anyways, or at least during the summertime, at least consider it. I only brought one little map here, and I probably should have printed out more, but I'll print it out the next time that I come. I'm going to continue to come and continue to say the same things over and over. I know Lee had said this, but that being said, I guess I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
Pass the map around?
Yeah.
Wasn't somebody gonna send us out? I mean, yeah, I'd like to see it, but
Yeah.
I thought we were gonna get a copy. Okay.
Yeah.
I can bring it next time. Is there anything you guys would like me to look up, I guess, until next time?
Thanks, Adam.
No?
Thank you,
Adam,
Appreciate
thanks
it.
for coming.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Anyone else? Seeing no one else coming forward, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a council member that would like to remove an item from the consent agenda? If not, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Harrison, second Shute, that we approve the consent agenda. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Consent agenda passes. New business item number 1, consider a request to waive the water system development charge associated with the installation of an irrigation meter for the Gardner Municipal Airport. Says, Brian Johnson on here, but you're Tim McEldowney. Tim, good evening.
Good evening. So if I screw anything up, we'll just pretend I'm Brian then.
There you go.
We'll work it out. Yeah, this is, pretty simple, I think. The, Gardner Municipal Airport, is already put in new water service, over Kill Creek Road and 175th Street. By resolution, that requires, for the size they need, requires a fee of $4,000. They have requested, to waive that fee, basically being one city service paying to another. But they would still pay the $900 for the cost of the actual meter itself. Staff does not have a recommendation. Instead, we've put this forward to get direction from council whether to approve their request or deny the request.
Nothing else to present then?
No.
All right, we'll open the floor for public comments regarding new business item number 1. If there's anyone in attendance that would like to speak about new business item number 1, now's the time. With no one coming forward, questions for Tim regarding the water system development charge for the airport?
Tim, is, Mr. Blazer here at the,
No, he's not.
No, he's not.
okay. I didn't think I saw him, but here's the question I've got. They want us to waive the development charge. Is there any other city entity that is currently utilizing city water that has that same distance?
Well, that's a good question. Sorry, I should have even said that past history is that other city departments have paid that.
Exactly. I just wanted to get that on the record again, because it just doesn't seem that that's standard practice. Are they, when I was looking at the letter that, that was, that basically included the request, it stated here that, the reason why they wanted it waived is because it's on city property at the airport, and the hangar is an educational 501c3 organization. In other words, a not-for-profit. Are they saying that they're not an arm of the city?
I couldn't tell you. I mean, that's just a tenant, not.
Yeah, look, can I ask that question of our staff over here?
Okay, I'll try to make this as simple as possible.
Okay,
The city owns the airport.
yes.
You own the assets.
Mhm.
It's our facility. All of our other facilities pay these charges to ourselves.
Mhm.
The 501c3 or any other taxing, that's the status of their taxing. It
Correct.
doesn't have anything to do with appropriate, generally accepted accounting procedures. So, and if I may summarize this for you as simply as possible,
Please.
if you waive this, first of all, it's not best practice. Second of all, you're essentially, for the use of capacity, you're asking the rest of the ratepayers to subsidize a city facility.
That's exactly what I was getting at.
So,
Thank you very much,
ta-da.
Laura.
But,
I appreciate
yes, they
that.
are an arm of the city. They're a component unit. That gets very, very confusing, and you don't want to go there. There's a whole lot of things that go with that. but we charge ourselves for these things.
Exactly, for the most part, it's going out of one pocket and into another of the same pair of pants. And my thinking here is that I don't understand how this could be waived. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
So that's a policy decision.
I understand, but just based on that, yeah.
Well,
I have a
which
question.
was why they did include both the motions, but.
Exactly.
Lee, go ahead.
My question's more, I noticed that it's chapter 16 of the VAA that made the request. Is that correct? That looked like that was the name on the,
Mhm.
I'm a member of that organization, so, I'm wondering if I should recuse myself from this.
He made it, for the board.
Pardon?
He made the request at the direction of the
At the direction of
board.
the airport board?
Yeah.
So it's not on behalf of the organization then?
Right.
It's on behalf of the airport itself?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and Cam's not on the board, I don't believe.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was clear, given our training that we had.
Especially, after the training.
Anyone else? Questions? You know, we've got either a motion to approve or a motion to deny.
I move we deny the request to waive the water system development charge at the Gardner Municipal Airport for the installation of the three-point irrigation meter.
Second,
Motion Harrison, second shows that we deny the request to waive the water system development charge at Gardner Municipal Airport for the installation of a three-quarter inch irrigation meter. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? New business item number 1 fails.
okay.
Well, the motion to deny passes. There we go. New business item number 2, consider Johnson County Fire District number 1's request to extend the fire services contract for 2016 and consolidate 2017. Laura, good evening.
Okay, let me make this, with your permission, extremely brief because Assistant Fire Chief is very nervous. So, let me just start. For the benefit of the new council and for anybody listening in the audience and on video, as in Reader's Digest condensed version, October 2010, the city divested itself of the public safety component and split off fire, and we've had a contractual arrangement with Johnson County Fire ever since. The original agreement was 3 years, with 3 additional one-year renewals. Each time before we did a renewal, we were supposed to do a study, because the intent of the contract was when the mills achieved parity, so there wouldn't be a tax increase, or until a time mutually agreed by everybody. So, up to this point, the governing body has given 2 more additional years, and we're on our 3rd. So the last time the governing body voted to extend the contract was November, and at that meeting, the fire district came and asked, can we consolidate now? And the governing body directed staff to do a study on what would it look like if we maybe renegotiated a contract and what would consolidation. After that study showed that we would probably not achieve parity till 2019, if then. There was also a question about whether or not Johnson County, they didn't want to, the fire district has outstanding debt that they did not want to levy to the citizens of Gardner. And the county at that time could not answer that question on whether or not that was mechanically possible, because they didn't have enough information. Since then, fire districts provided information. They have confirmed to them and to me that they can mechanically do that should you choose to consolidate. And with that, governing body told the fire district they could come back and proceed with the presentation, and that's where they are now, and I'm done talking unless you have questions.
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, that's where we are. Your turn, Dennis.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry to get out of order.
Dennis, good evening.
Hey, Dennis.
Good evening, you all, and welcome some new faces to the city council. We thought it'd be good just to step back just a little bit real quick, so we do have some new faces on here to talk about where we were at before we consolidated. As most of you know, there was 2 fire stations in the city. We actually had 1 firefighter on duty at each station that drove the truck to the fire, and the police officers responded basically opened their trunks, put their guns away, got their bunker gear out, started fighting fires. That's what we had before. No fire inspections were completed within the city at that time, and that's what we had. It was called a public safety, basically, organization. Today, what we have today is 4 fire stations within the fire district. Station 1 is staffed with 3 firefighters at New Century. Station 2 is staffed with 3 firefighters on 183rd Street. Station 3 is where we house the medic station, because it's more centrally located in the city. It's staffed by our volunteers. Station 4 is staffed with 2 firefighters in Edgerton. We have on duty 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, battalion chief on duty to respond to calls also. All career firefighters are medically trained to EMT level or higher. Fire inspections and plan reviews are completed by full-time fire prevention division chief. I might also add that out of our complete call load for 2014, still 72% of our calls are within the city of Gardner, 72%. Talk a little bit about the ISO rating. We think it's important. After the merger, we had an ISO rating classification change. Excuse me. When it was a 6, now the rating is down to a 4. And after talking with the insurance companies and doing our own investigation, that's a savings of about $50 to $100 per average homeowner in the city of Gardner. It's also a larger savings to the businesses in the city of Gardner also. In fact, it helps out businesses more than residents. What we're going to ask for you to do in 2016, we'd like to adjust the contract amount to $1,408,750. That equates to about 9.217 mils over what you paid in 2015. And that increases a 0.208 over 15. That's less than about a $5 increase per year for a resident in Gardner. Any questions at this point? In 17, we would like for you to approve the operating mill levy for the fire district that would be applied to the residents of Gardner and the taxing authority of the fire district. We anticipated possibly getting this done in 16. We ran out of time to do that, so we're going to have to extend the contract in 16, but we need approval to get this started now so we can get it corrected in 17. What are we going to get for the extra money? You know, it's our opinion we've been kind of giving you that for the last 5 years. It'll reduce cost. I think Laura's study showed that our cost for fire service in the city of Gardner is lower than any fire district within the county. We got some other needs that we would like to do. We need to add additional personnel. We need to upgrade our aging fleet. The average fire truck that we're running for frontline right now is 13 and a half years old. NFPA standard says about 10 years for a frontline truck and 2 years in reserve, so we're well past that. We want to expand our public education programs. We'd like to start an Adopt a School program. We'd like to expand our SORT program, our heart safety, CPR programs. And I'm very, very pleased to report to you that after we read on the news or saw on the news 4 kids that died in a fire in Trenton, Missouri, we've installed 150 smoke detectors and donated them to the residents of Gardner in the last month. So we're really proud of that program. We want to continue to develop a strong working relationship with the city departments and the community in which we serve. You know, over the past 5 years, the fire district has actually spent down most of the reserves. We've tried to keep this mill levy as low as we could through the bad economical times. You know, our employees have got a raise last year of 3%. It's the first raise they've had in 4 years. You know, we've eaten costs on insurance. That's just barely going to cover the insurance costs. You know, as we continue on, it's just spiraling down just as we go. We've got to get this thing corrected, and we've got to get it changed for 2017. The little additional amount that we're asking for in 16 will really help us get started on that program and get it going. We ordered fire trucks today. It takes a year to get them. So we really need to get some answers. We're working on a budget right now, but we're at a standstill because we don't know what's going to happen here in Gardner. So we cannot continue on until we get some decision on where you all want us to go. A lot of equipment needs we've put off and put off and put off, but we're just to the point where we can't do that anymore. So with that, I'll stop and try to answer any questions for you.
Well, with presentation being at an end, we're gonna open the floor for public comments. Stand close by, because, you might be coming right back. But if anyone has public comments regarding new business item number 2, now would be the time. With no one coming forward, questions, for, Dennis regarding the matter? Christie, would you like to start?
I feel like I've been through this. So no, I don't.
Steve?
Yeah, I've only got a couple. I won't keep up with anybody else's time. You touched on the funding, I'm talking about the reserve funds for.
That's correct.
You touched on that very briefly. You said
Sure.
you've been spending down the
We-
reserves.
Well, I noticed from your work session that you all said that you like to have about a 30 to 25% reserves for the city. Our goal is a little less than that. We'd like to have about a 15%. We're down about a 4%, a little less than 4% reserve at this time.
And that translates to about how many months of working capital for operations?
About a month.
About a month.
Month and a half with salaries and stuff.
That's unacceptable. I'm sorry, that's not sustainable. If we have some sort of a serious problem in this community, and we have to have, if you don't have access to funds, your ability to provide services is crippled.
That's correct.
And that's basically what it comes down to. And since public safety is such a critical part of this community, I think that, now, how much of this additional funding you're talking about here would go towards building up those reserves? Because that seems like it's very, very low.
I would say, it's a cheap answer, but, how we're gonna allocate that
Hey,
exactly.
Chief.
Good late evening.
Good morning.
Um,
Yeah, good morning.
No, if we were to, just to kind of give you an example, if we were to put our mill in effect right now, what we're asking for is 1.4. If we were to put that into perspective right now, it would equate to 1.6. So, there's still a pretty good gap there.
Okay.
And we're trying to start somewhere to meet halfway before 17, Obviously, we didn't want to come in here and overdo anything. But, it equates to $98,000 is what it equates to.
Okay.
So, we'd like to take, and it's up to my board, and my board's here as well, but there's a portion of that we would allocate to go into the contingency fund, I know.
Well, I would think there would need to be.
Absolutely, absolutely.
As I said, that's not sustainable.
It's not.
Okay. And what's the exact amount that you were looking to extend the contract for?
1,408,750.
And that comes out to 9.218 mils, is that correct?
9.217, yeah.
217, okay.
That equates to what you would have to have out of your operating, or your
Sure.
city budget to pay that.
Okay, yes.
And actually, the assessed valuation could change.
Correct.
So you don't want to hone in exactly on the
Yeah,
point anything.
exactly.
It's just,
Totally
they're asking for
understand.
someone, I just want to make sure that it's like.
Those are projected.
Not, exactly.
That's a projected mill,
Exactly.
and that doesn't take into consideration any of the increases, the 8% or 6% increases we've been seeing in.
Well, there's other components of any entity's assessed valuation that haven't been given to us yet. There's always the personal property component,
Yes.
and there's also the utilities component. We don't get those till the end of June.
Yeah,
So I don't have any idea what they'd be.
sure. Okay, so we're somewhat around the 9 mil
Somewhat around,
target
right.
that we've been, even with the additional funding.
I just wanted to clarify, don't
Sure.
hone in on the point whatevers.
Sure, not a
Okay.
problem, not a problem. I just wanted to see, again, we saw that in your presentation, so I wanted to make sure we were looking at the right numbers.
That's right.
Okay, great, thanks, that's all I have.
Well, I just think that, we're kind of a partner in this in some ways, and they're extremely important to the city. And if you're down to 4%, that seems awfully low, but, I don't know. I think, it would seem like it would be wise, from a city standpoint, to invest in that, help to get things started and moving forward for you.
I really don't have any questions, and you'll never hear me say this very often, but I'm just ready to vote you guys some money.
Well, thank you.
I'm gonna write that down. Time.
Lee?
I just, wanted to make sure it was clear, we're talking about a dollar figure and not, a mill number, right? You gave the equivalent in mills just for illustrative.
Comparison.
That's correct.
That's correct. Yeah, just a comparison.
And they may be lower. Oh, one other thing, having to do with 2017. I'm personally in favor of transitioning that mill over to you guys. And part of it's because you're on the front lines, you understand what you need to be able to provide your operations, okay? It also, there's some administrative overhead that's involved with us trying to manage that payment to the fire district. And to be honest, I don't necessarily want to mess with that. Understanding we're not going to be going back. I don't think that there's any sentiment on the dais here that we're going to be reconsolidating the fire services into a city fire department. I don't think that we're in a position to do that. So if that's the case, it just makes sense to give you guys moving. The only caveat I have is that I would like to be able to have some accountability in terms of reporting and metrics for performance as well as for expenditures. I know that that's a matter of public record anyway, because you are a taxing authority, but I did want to, you know.
Sure, and we do that just like we do, right, we would continue doing just as we do right now. At the end of the year, giving you a report and giving you our financials. I mean, I think that's, something
Okay.
that we will continue to do.
And I was expecting that response, but I just wanted to make it clear that that's, when we would just be handing you a bucket of money and just saying, you know, do with it what you want.
Mhm.
You know,
Understandable.
we're not Olathe or anything.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't say that, did I? But.
Out loud, on video.
But I do want to mention also, you know, we will have a corresponding mill levy decrease on the part of the city with the transitioning of the mill to the fire district. It may be zero sum, but we will have some flexibility. We were talking about capital improvements, we're talking about major projects. Well, I mean, we now have some flexibility to do something with our mill if we wish to go in that direction. And I know that we don't have a lot of flexibility right now, so that gives us potentially some options. So that's about all I had to say about 2017, but I am in favor of doing that.
So our last slide here is that these are the action items that we'd like to have approved for tonight. This is extension of the contract for 2016 in the amount of $1,408,750.
I would entertain, because it looks like this is the consensus of council, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Is there public comment? Oh,
Actually, we offered
Oh,
public
we did?
comment
Okay,
already.
sorry.
One came up, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
I would entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the extension of the agreement with Johnson County Fire District 1 for first response fire protection and rescue services, emergency medical services for the period of January 1st of 2016 through December 31st, 2016, in the amount of $1,408,750, and direct the city administrator to coordinate actions to achieve consolidation of the city of Gardner and Johnson County Fire District 1 by January 1st, 2017.
Second.
Motion, Shute, second, Melton, that we approve the extension of the agreement with Johnson County Fire District Number 1 for the first response fire protection and rescue services and emergency medical services for the period of January 1st, 2016 through December 31st, 2016, in the amount of $1,408,750, and direct the city administrator to coordinate actions to achieve consolidation of the city of Gardner and Johnson County Fire District Number 1 by January 1st, 2017. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you very
welcome,
much.
Chief. Thank you, Dennis.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. New business item number 3, consider establishing the city's contribution to health and vision insurance premiums for the 2015-16 plan year. Laura, welcome back to the podium.
One thing I was gonna say on that is, I don't wanna insult anybody's intelligence, but that was a budget decision. So we
Yes.
kinda go along with these all along, and And when we look back, we're like, well, we didn't talk about budget. Well, that was a budget decision for 16, and so is this one right now.
Sure.
It's for 15 and 16.
You bet.
So, okay. So part of priority-based budgeting is to evaluate and monitor the previous decisions the governing body has made, and adjust if needed. So with that, I'll give you a brief rundown that the city continues to experience success in incenting employees to migrate to the least expensive high deductible plan, as 8 more employees chose to migrate to the HDHP, which is an increase of 10% over this time last year. So currently, a total out of 88 out of 100 people who take the city's health insurance are on the HDHP. This is evidenced by a minimal increase of 1% for the HDHP, while the HMO plans increased 3.5%, and the most expensive increase for the PPO plan at 3.9%. What you did before, the city's successful strategy is, current strategy is that the city pays 100% of the value of the HDHP premium for employees that take employee only, and 80% of the premiums for family and tier 2. And we fund health savings accounts at $500 for employee only and $1,000 for the other two, tier 2 and family, and that's upfront. So when the new plan comes in, you get money in your account, so you can go to the doctor. So beginning July 1st, the insurance provider will increase those rate increases. And with that, there's no increase to vision insurance. And so we're recommending to the governing body to continue that same strategy. 100% of employee only, 80% of family and tier 2. And the difference is we're asking for additional health savings account funding, an increase of $250, basically for everybody, to help keep the people on there that are on there and perhaps incent the others. And you can do that against your 2015 approved budget, because their plan year works, our year's calendar, theirs is July 1. So every budget year, we have half a year at what we know the rates are, and the other half of making assumptions of what the rates are. So you have little savings, because we thought there would be higher increases. So you can use your savings to fund these health savings account, and cost you about $5,000. So, your decision. This is a 2015 revised 2016 budget policy decision.
Can you repeat that again?
What, the savings part?
So we're increasing 5,400, is that what this is?
Okay, so that's always just budget estimates, because
Right.
I don't know who's gonna take what plan until they really do it, but that's the budget estimate. So it costs you about $5,000 to increase, to continue, 100% employee, 80% family and tier 2 at the new rates, and increase another $250 for everybody.
Okay.
So your employee only would go up to $750 instead of $500, and your tier 2 and family goes from $1,000 to $1,250. And you can do that with essentially no impact on your budget,
Because we're just taking the savings.
because you're taking the savings and putting it in health savings accounts.
Yeah, I want to just kind of talk about the employee engagement survey. One of the issues that we heard from employees, in addition to pay, was the benefits component. And so this allows us to go back and have some immediate solution to addressing. There's some other things we need to look at, but this is an opportunity to provide an immediate solution on behalf of the employees for some of the things that they brought up in the engagement survey.
I figured somebody was gonna get a word in edgewise. Ellen looks like a,
Oh,
got on a hot tin roof
he's back
over
there waiting. She's back there
Yeah.
waving.
If that's the end of presentation, we'll open the floor for public comments. If there's anybody in attendance that would like to make public comments regarding new business item number 3, now is your opportunity. And with no one coming forward, questions for Laura or other staff regarding new business item number 3?
You want to start in?
Steve?
August. I'm looking at the exit interview results from the, from the individuals who have chosen to leave the organization. One of the top responses in terms of what they like least about their job is their benefits. Now, we've been down this road a couple of times already, Cheryl. I mean, we've discussed this at length about, we did a study on the benefits. We came back last year with some options. We chose to go with the NPR option as the most cost-effective option. But there is still a concern, and I know it's not just, my empirical, observation. I've heard it directly from some employees that their benefits are just not up to their expectations. That the breadth of coverage as well as the quality of the plans that are offered are not sufficient in a lot of cases to manage their health needs. So I guess the question I've got, and I know you've just been here not very long, but have you gotten that same observation? And do we need to look at the potential of maybe going to a higher quality plan, even if it means that, the employees might have to pitch in for some of that?
Well, in my opinion, yes. To both of your questions. I think tonight you definitely we're requesting to increase the deposit into their HSA by $250. I think we need to do that.
Yep.
The other thing to keep in mind on an engagement survey is when you ask the question about benefits, and this is something we need to drill down on. I don't disagree about what you're saying at all about the health insurance, but there are other benefits too that we need to find out what they're considering as benefits. So
Sure.
the answer is yes.
I mean, it's kind of a trade-off because, I know that the employees have a need or a desire to have higher level of benefit coverage, but then again, you've still got the budget side that we have to manage. And so the question comes down, if, and maybe this is a question you've asked in the engagement survey, or maybe this is something we might need to ask them, would they be willing to pay more in deductible, okay, for a higher level of coverage? And would they be willing to work with the city on that?
Well, the engagement survey didn't drill down that far, but we can certainly ask it at the engagement committee. And we will.
I think that would be a really good thing because, again, we're going to be stuck with this, not stuck, I shouldn't say that word.
Right.
We're going to be approving this tonight, but I think that there needs to be a serious evaluation of what's going to be the best option for our employees in that area.
I would also like to investigate with NPR, I think I've been told that they have approximately 9,000 employees in their pool.
Mm-hmm.
And with 9,000 employees, it seems to me, and I'm no insurance expert, that perhaps they could get better deals from insurance companies, but I don't know what their experience has been.
Sure. That's all I have.
Todd, any questions? Rich, Lee, Christie?
Yeah, I actually just have a couple. Do we know how many employees meet their deductible last year? Do we have any?
I have, I don't know how to read it, but I got it. Oh, you actually do.
Okay.
Let's see, so this would be the deductible, right?
Yep.
So
So it
it
looks like-
depends, this is single. Yep. So, okay, so help me, I've got this, I think I know how to read it. The city has 38 single coverage, and of those, 6 met the deductible. Okay, and then there's another 50 who are anything but single, everything else. This is all about the HDHP, this is not about the other plans.
Yes.
Who have, of the 50, something other than single, it looks like 14 of them met the deductible. That's quite a few.
Yeah, that is.
So, that's my, how'd you like that very intense analysis done on the fly? That's quite a few. So there you go.
Of 3,000.
Yeah, the deductible for that's
Deductible
3,000.
is substantial.
Right.
3,000.
Yeah.
So,
And
so
that-
here's my question, I mean, actually, this is more discussion, but, one of the reasons that I hear from employees, not just city employees, that they wouldn't go to the HSA or that concerns them is, especially, I mean, if I'm making $20 an hour, coming up with $3,000 out of pocket is a big deal. And so, I would just like to have a conversation about, we know from a salary perspective that we budgeted a certain amount. And we also know that we're likely not going to spend that. So is there opportunity for us to look at increasing that match somewhat from a deductible or from a HSA contribution perspective and maybe alleviating some of that?
Some gap,
Well, in-
gap
in-
coverage things?
Yeah, I mean.
In relation to entire compensation and package.
Exactly, and then, so I guess that's my first question, and that's more a council question, I mean.
Well, and yeah, that's, I mean, what we're talking about when we approve the increases is substantially less than
About
what has been budgeted, about
$70,000.
$70,000.
Yeah.
Right, so you're suggesting that maybe
I'm
instead of.
suggesting that, we have a discussion, would we be interested in considering upping that HSA contribution to help offset some of the deductible costs?
I don't get a vote in it, but I would say yes. How does everybody else feel? Because if that's the case, we're probably going to have to table this and bring it back like immediately for the next meeting for approval, or can we not, or do we not even have that much time?
Our meeting starts May the 15th, since it's effective
Open
July
enrollment.
1. Open enrollment is May the 15th.
Okay.
And we don't
Do you
get
have a
to
number?
change that.
Do you have a number in mind?
I really don't, I
NPR.
mean, I don't know, I mean, Cheryl, what are your thoughts on, what the costs?
I think it's a very good discussion to have when you start to look at, we have, on the pay and compensation table, we have some of our officers, police officers that we're looking at 90%, we're looking at some that are at 78, we're looking at people who are at 80, I mean, so we know that they're low based on the pay and comp, so I think it's something to look at. We also did a survey of other jurisdictions to see what they're contributing to the HSA account, and we know that we're very low.
Yeah.
So we know that from the empirical data from surveying, that what the residents are, okay, here it is.
Yep.
So we can see, city next to us, Edgerton's almost at 2,000.
Yep. Yeah, here's, my concern, we know that the total deductible is the 3,000 for multi and family, correct?
Mhm.
And for the single, it's,
I think it's
Currently
1,500. Oh, I thought it was 15.
no, I'm saying the total
Current.
deductible.
Oh, the total, yes.
Total out of
Deductible
pocket
is
is
1,500.
15.
Yes.
So typically, best practice is to go to at least 50%
Right.
of the total deductible. So you're talking, for single, it should be
$750.
at least
$750.
$750.
Right. No.
And for a family, it should be at least $1,500.
$1,500.
So we're already low on the family side,
Right.
even with the bump up to $1,250. So,
Correct.
and understanding that families tend to have more medical, calls, especially families with children, they get multiple children. It would almost make sense to bump that up from $1,250 to $1,750, okay? Just so that they have that additional margin, and then bring that $750, I don't even know if we need to move that $750 for an individual, but I think that would make some sense to add that $500 for each family policy. That's for 50 policies, right? So that's
Yeah, so down and dirty, 25,000.
25,000?
Right, if you went up another $500 for 50 people.
So it'd be $25,000 budget impact, but we have,
You have about 70, so you would still be,
yeah.
And you would have,
Under.
right, you would, and just so you got the full picture.
Yep.
You would have to consider that maybe you're incenting those other 12 currently taking,
Correct.
and you have about 20 people that don't take any insurance at all.
That's
So,
correct.
heads up on all that, not saying don't do it, just,
But-
that gives you still plenty of
That
clearance,
gives you plenty of
Yeah.
coverage, even if you.
even if everybody joined in.
But knowing from personal experience, $500 makes
Sure.
a
Sure it does.
huge difference.
Sure, which is also why we ask you to do this up front, because having it in the bank all up front instead of stringing it out by the month gets people the ability to go to the doctor too.
Correct, and the budget impact, again, that rolls over, correct? I mean, if they don't use that, it
Right,
rolls.
HSAs belong to the individual
Exactly.
forever.
Exactly.
So
So
that's
that-
their money forever and ever.
That's a real incentive. You add 500 to that, especially that tier 2 and family.
Mhm.
Right.
That helps people a lot.
Right,
There.
and it carries, they don't have to spend it if they don't need it.
Okay.
And that's not well visits, because those don't count, so
Well
that's
visits are
really
free.
money, that is money
Right.
that they are actually having to expend because they need to see a doctor.
Correct.
So a big bang for the buck is the HSA funding.
Absolutely, yeah, which helps the health of our employees too. I
Mhm.
Absolutely, and it's a good short-term gap, it closes the gap within the short term,
Mhm.
while we do a reevaluation of our benefits for 2017.
Right.
But,
So,
so we go to 1750 on the
Okay,
family.
so-
Okay,
Do you have consensus? I mean.
Well,
I mean, if we have.
if we have consensus,
Yeah.
what Steve's
Yeah.
proposing is 1750.
It's not-
And it was
What
the
about
750?
750
It is
and
about
17.
50%, but again, families tend to have more health needs than individuals. So, again, that 50% is a minimum, it's not a recommendation, as you can tell.
Are you
So-
saying increasing the singles as well?
750 would be the single.
1750 for.
1750 for family, which proposes kind of in line with most of the municipalities on this list.
And honestly, if it's single, we're paying for 100% of their insurance anyhow, so I'm okay with,
Keeping it
yeah,
750.
exactly.
Yeah, so,
Okay. Mhm. Either consensus of some sort.
It sounds like we've got a consensus.
And a motion.
So, the motion would be to approve the city's contribution to health and vision insurance premiums for the 2015 and 16 plan at, and I can go ahead and read all that, including the
that's
1750.
fine, that's fine. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion, Schutz, second Harrison, that we approve the city's contribution to health and vision insurance premiums for the 2015-16 plan year at 100% for employee-only coverage equating to $470.80, 80% for tier 2 coverage equating to $756.87, 80% for family coverage equating to $896.69, and fund the employees' HSAs upfront at $750 for employee only and $1,750 for tier 2 and family. And continue the city's contribution to the employees' vision insurance premiums in the same 100%, 80% structure at 100% for employee only coverage equating to $754, 80% for tier 2 coverage equating to $1,206, 80% for family coverage equating to $1,723. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Say that 3 times fast.
I'll let you do that.
Yeah.
I'm sure the employees appreciate that.
Yes.
This-
No problem.
Okay.
Thank you. New business item number 4, consider adopting a resolution approving the 2016 through 20 county assistance road system program for road improvements within the city of Gardner, Kansas. Tim McEldowney, welcome back to the podium.
Thanks, it's good to be here. Gene, you put that picture up. Yeah, every year the county puts out a request to all the cities within the county for applications to apply for funds through the County Assisted Road System program. The program is intended primarily for the arterial street network to connect cities within the county, and it funds 50% of construction costs on eligible projects. So, for instance, items like utilities, right-of-way acquisition, engineering design costs are funded 100% by the cities. So this request came in, and we have already submitted our list of projects to the county, which you have in front of you on the action form. They ask for a 5-year plan, so we've put a project for each of the next 5 years. It's important to note that this year, right now, they will only be determining projects, selecting projects for the year 2016. The projects we have beyond here are just placeholders to help them budget and plan for future years. So